Now, I think it's safe to say that Google finally reached a point where they know exactly who they are, and the Pixel 10 Pro solidified it. Now, before I actually get into the Pixel 10 Pro XL, let me take you back for a second, because you can't understand where Google is right now without understanding where they've been. Now, remember the Pixel 6 Pro, the Pixel 7 Pro, the 8 Pro, the 9 Pro? Watching those phones evolve one after the other felt like watching a company figure itself out in real time. New designs, new features, and even new ideas thrown at the wall to see what stuck. Because as a citizen of the US, we're in a market where Samsung and Apple have dominated for well over a decade. If you want a mainstream phone that everyone else has, you go with Apple. And if you want to be different yet still mainstream and go with Android, then it was a no-brainer to pick up a Samsung Galaxy. Then in 2021, Google decided that they were going to shoehorn their way into the American market. Then they released the Pixel 6 Pro. Now, coming from the previous Pixel setup where software was king, the Pixel 6 Pro came in with an entirely different design language, a camera visor look that would go on to define every Pixel that came after it. Mix that in with a heavier push in marketing all across America. It was a bold swing and it worked. Then the Pixel 7 Pro showed up and simplified that look, smoothed it out, backed it up with some real spec upgrades to show you that they can compete, and supply everyone with a Pixel just to show that this was the next big thing. Then we have the Pixel 8 Pro, which basically gave people what they've been asking for. Flat display instead of those curved edges, a more rounded frame, and the upgrades were minor this time, sure, but Google was still very clearly experimenting with the look and still figuring out what a Pixel was supposed to feel like when it's in your hand. And then you have the Pixel 9 Pro, genuinely one of the biggest jumps the lineup had ever seen. That boxier, more industrial frame, and it implemented the Google Pixel as the leader in AI. And Google finally found their identity. A clean looking phone with a signature look that had improvements that everybody wanted. It truly felt like the sky was the limit for what this phone could actually accomplish. And then the Pixel 10 Pro came. The first Pixel in years where Google chose stability over potential. They grew out of that teenage phase of experimenting with their identity and finally grew up to actually own it, which is a great thing and a bad thing at the exact same time. It's pretty great because when you buy a Pixel 10 Pro XL today, you know exactly what you're getting. You know you're getting a clean, simplistic software experience that doesn't get in its own way. You know you're getting camera quality that rivals any phone at any price point, and you know that you're stepping into an ecosystem that's genuinely gotten close to rivaling Apple in terms of how fluid and connected everything feels. But here's the flip side. It also can mean that Google might not be willing to experiment anymore, and that's opened them up to a level of criticism that they really haven't dealt with before. Like, think about it. Remember when people used to clown on the Tensor chip for being weak? Well, that was fine, forgivable even, because it was brand new silicon, which means that the reputation is baked in at this point. That's what you'll expect when walking into a Pixel, and whether that's fair or not is up to you to judge. And then there's the price. When you're basically getting the same exact phone as last year, but they're charging you more for it, people are going to start to ask obvious questions. What exactly am I paying extra for? Especially when areas that people actually care about didn't move the needle much at all. And despite all of the noise surrounding the Pixel, here's what I want to do in this video. I want to block out all of it. I just want to give you guys my honest experience with the Pixel 10 Pro XL after living with it, so that if you're still on the fence of buying one, you can actually walk away from this knowing whether or not it's actually worth your money. Now, you guys know my motto now. No phone is perfect. But instead of beating a dead horse and giving you the same tired talking points about a weak Tensor chip or a price increase that a lot of people feel is unjustified, I want to actually show you what I've been dealing with over the course of a year with this phone. Now, the first problem is updates, or more specifically, the inconsistency that comes from them. Because here's the thing about this phone, it'll run completely fine for weeks, no hiccups, nothing weird, just a overall smooth experience, and then an update rolls in, and suddenly I'm dealing with small bugs that were never there before. An app randomly crashes on me out of nowhere, the keyboard decides that it doesn't want to close when I back out into the app drawer, and then like clockwork, another update comes along a month or two later and just quietly fixes it. It just goes away as randomly as it showed up, and then the cycle repeats itself over and over and over. And this sucks because when you're paying flagship money, you shouldn't feel like every update is a gamble. Now, the second problem has definitely been the overheating. Now, throughout every single week and every single day, this phone gets genuinely hot. Whether I'm outside in the summer just using my phone, whether it just gets hot during regular use, and it even runs pretty warm while fast charging, which is especially annoying since the overheating will cause performance issues. And the third and final problem during my use with the Google Pixel 10 Pro was connectivity. Now, this one was the most frustrating. Very frequent cellular data drops. I'll have full bars on my screen and still lose internet completely, which was very weird. And the part that really gets me is that after I move through a low signal area like a parking garage or a dead zone, the phone does not always reconnect on its own. I have to manually toggle airplane mode on and off or restart the connection myself just to get back online. And in 2026, on a phone this expensive, that's not something that you should have to think about. So yeah, let me know in the comments if these problems are deal breakers for you, or if you already have the Pixel 10 Pro and have experienced any of these. But alright, let's talk about something that Google actually got right, because out of everything that they've experimented with since the Pixel 6 Pro, the design, the chip, the software, build quality might be the one thing that they've genuinely mastered. Now, this boxy yet rounded frame, like the 9 Pro, feels really good in the hand. It's not digging into your palm during a long scroll session like some of these harder edge phones already have out there. And it's boxy to the point where it's not slippery, which is very surprising because out of the big three, Google is still using a more shiny, slippery material on the sides. And it also holds up very well. I've been carrying this thing around in and out of my pockets, on tables, you know, the usual wear and tear that a phone goes through in daily life. If you catch it under direct sunlight at the right angle, sure, you'll spot a few micro scuffs, but that's with any phone. And the only problem that I do have is that Google still has the worst scratch resistance of any phone in the market. But other than that, build quality is the one category where I have almost nothing to complain about. Now, let's talk about the screen, because this was another area where Google has been showing consistent improvement in a bunch of different ways. As someone who has been here since the Pixel 6 Pro, it's almost amazing how the brightness continues to climb. I was using this phone in direct sunlight and it handled it very well, which was something that I really couldn't say on previous Pixels before the Pixel 9 Pro. The viewing experience was top tier, from the resolution to even the very thin bezels. Watching YouTube, movies, and even just casually scrolling through social media was nothing but top tier. But I will say that the only problem was that there was a ton of reflection and glare on my display. So my only improvement wish is that Google would implement some kind of anti-reflection technology to where it could be more enjoyable to view outside in the shade. Now, next up, let's just rip the band-aid off. No, the Tensor G5 is not going to out-benchmark the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. And if you're the type of person who lives and dies by scores, then this was never going to be your chip. And it's still not. But here's what actually matters and what daily use has taught me. For casual users, you don't feel that gap in real life. Apps open fast, switching between things doesn't hang. And when I'm processing a shot in the camera app, it is very instant. And even Magic Q, Gemini, and all the AI stuff running in the background, none of this stuff is dragging a phone down day by day. But again, where it actually falls apart is gaming. Anything demanding, anything that wants sustained performance over a longer session, you will notice the frame pacing starts to struggle compared to a phone that's actually built around gaming performance, which is most in the market. And again, I can't stress it enough, but the overheating is a really big problem. Like, whenever I use this phone without a case, my phone is always hot. Like, if I'm switching between a lot of apps, my phone gets hot. When I'm gaming, my phone gets hot. When I'm charging, my phone gets hot. And when compared to other phones, I'm not gonna lie, the Pixel just runs hotter than any of them by far. Now, when it comes to battery, the Pixel is one of the most peculiar cases when it comes to judging a phone, because there's a ton of tech that goes behind how it operates. Now, Google has a feature called Battery Health Assistance, and you can't turn it off. Once you hit 200 charge cycles, it starts quietly reducing your charging voltage and speed, and it keeps adjusting all the way up through 1,000 cycles, which is exactly why my battery health is still going very strong a year later. And as far as actual day-to-day battery life, I'll be honest, it's been pretty inconsistent. Some days I'll get well past 7 hours of on-screen time without breaking a sweat. Other days I'm down to 20% after just a few hours of the exact same usage. That inconsistency is real, and it's not just me, it's been one of the more widely reported issues with this phone over the past year. Now, looking at easily the best part of what makes a Pixel, this camera is still top tier per usual. Everyday shots are very clean, skin tones are very accurate, and something that I noticed was that the sharpness has been improving over the years. Another problem that I used to deal with on Pixel cameras was inconsistency with lighting. But as you can see here, they've been utilizing AI to clean up that weird grogginess whenever I didn't shoot in perfect lighting. Zoom was pretty sharp, nothing to write home about, but it did get the job done whenever I needed to remember my parking spot or get an aesthetic pic. And I can say the same about ultra wide as well. Nice, but nothing spectacular. Still get a bit of a blur depending on the situation, but 90% of the time, it's fine. Video was great as well. Not the best in the market due to color consistency, especially selfie videos, but when you're in good, perfect lighting, it of course does its job. Now, let's get into the AI side of things. And yeah, I won't lie to you guys, there's just too much stuff with an AI that overwhelms me. And anytime I need anything, all I really do is just use Google Gemini to do it. Emails are already built into the Gmail app, and if I have a question, I ask Gemini. If I need an invoice, I ask Gemini. And anything I need to do, I just insert it into the app, and it handles it all for me. That's pretty much as far as I go when it comes to AI. I'm still unk, so give me a break. So yeah, after a full year with the Pixel 10 Pro XL, where does it actually leave us? Well, I'm giving it a solid 7.5 out of 10. It's a great phone, but you could easily get the Pixel 9 Pro for a cheaper price and get the exact same experience. So if you can get a great deal, then yeah, it's worth it. But if you pay full price, I would say you damn near wasted your money. But besides that, remember what I said at the very beginning. The Pixel 10 Pro XL felt like Google growing out of that teenage phase of experimenting with who they are. And well, a year later, I still believe that. This phone didn't try to reinvent itself. It didn't chase a headline. It just showed up, did the job, and let its flaws sit out in the open instead of hiding behind something flashy. And maybe that's what growing up actually looks like. Not being perfect, just finally being comfortable enough in your own identity to stop pretending you are. But don't sell yourself for $1,100. Peace.